There's always a curiosity about movies with wacky premises and seeing whether they can take full advantage of them. Death of a Unicorn has a story that could go in all sorts of wild directions, and for a while it does have its interesting and entertaining moments. The cast seems game for what they're required to do, and a few amusing lines pop up. However, the film eventually runs out of steam. This also becomes another recent film that satirizes the ultra-wealthy, but only seems to say a few insightful things, and the horror elements are particularly underwhelming. When a father and daughter run over a unicorn, there is an intrigue in seeing where the story will go next. That includes when we're introduced to this rich family and they decide to exploit the dead unicorn's capabilities. There's an obvious commentary on the American healthcare system with the way they seek to take advantage of its magical powers and make them available to only the highest bidders. Everyone falls into basic archetypes, but that does fit the overall tone of the film. Paul Rudd manages to play against type and does not sugarcoat his character's terrible traits as he attempts to decide between his employers and his concerned daughter. A few funny moments pop up throughout the movie, mostly courtesy of Will Poulter as the wealthy son. He takes this simply defined character and completely runs with it, finding the right comical beats. Anthony Carrigan also stands out as the butler who's getting tired of the demands and little respect given to him. When Death of a Unicorn takes a hard turn into horror, that's when the film slowly starts to lose interest. The third act is mostly dependent on carnage and shocking the audience, even though the parts meant to be surprising are telegraphed a mile away. There's little exciting about what the unicorns do, and a sense of repetition eventually sets in. It's also at this point that one realizes the script is not saying much of anything, and the third act drags as we watch the characters argue and decide the next step. Watching how the story unfolds makes it clear that this was a simple idea that cannot quite sustain its runtime, which is a shame, as there are enough interesting or funny parts leading up to the climax to make one curious what will happen next, but the final result just sort of deflates. Death of a Unicorn has its occasional moments, but there's not enough here to ultimately stick the landing. It feels like Alex Sharfman, making his feature directing debut, saw the unicorn in the horror parody Cabin in the Woods and thought, hey, maybe we could use that for an entire movie, and then mix that with a satire of rich people, which has become a regular genre lately. Even when a critique of the profit-driven healthcare system is thrown in, it does not comment nearly enough on that before changing course and focusing on these killer unicorns, and that gets dull and loses its potential after a while. Death of a Unicorn is a film that starts off intriguing, but ultimately and disappointingly ends on a whimper.